Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of TSP, the SHAIR Podcast. And today we have Rawvana Mendoza joining us on the SHAIR Podcast today. Rawvana is a Mexican-American born in San Diego, California, and her battle with alcohol started in her teens and ended with her hitting rock bottom in her early 20s. And her approach to wellness, her approach to sobriety started in 2013 when she went on a detox where the process for detoxification was eating raw foods, juicing, and learning about an entirely new way of eating. After 2 weeks, she felt like a brand new person with energy, enthusiasm, clarity, emotional stability, and a higher consciousness. And it is in that moment that she asked her higher power for forgiveness and strength to kick all her bad habits, the drinking, the smoking, the processed foods, the cooked foods, and to completely stay away from any animal products. Today, she maintains her sobriety by having a daily conscious contact with a higher power, eating clean, raw foods, hydrating, and doing plenty of exercise. She has a truly inspirational story that I think you guys are going to love. Now, before we dive into this episode, on the same day that I was interviewing Rawvana, it was also a very sad day for my wife and I. On April 21st of this year, I scheduled an 11 a.m. interview with Rawvana because it was the only time that she had. And the week prior to, our dog, Kiara, had some sort of a seizure. And when we took her to the vet, it seemed as though after 15 years of companionship with my wife, it was now time for her to exit this world and enter the spirit realm. And again, for me, it's HP, baby. There's no coincidences. I normally don't do interviews in the middle of the day. It's either early morning or late at night. And this was the only time slot that Rawvana had. So I took the morning off to take this interview. So at 11 o'clock, I interviewed Rawvana. Right after the interview, I came out and my wife was standing over Kiara and petting her and crying. And she looked at me. She said, I think she's going to leave us now. And so my wife gave her permission to let go. If she was ready, so were we. And, it's been an amazing 15 years, and there's no need for her to suffer any longer. And within 20 minutes, Kiara passed. For me, it was just an HP moment, and I'm so grateful that because of this interview, I happened to be home at that time, and we were able to share that moment, and I was able to be there for her. Because as we all know, when we are deep in the disease, deep in the addiction, it is impossible for us to be in the moment, to be accountable, to be responsible, to be there for the people that need us the most. So I always count my blessings, and I'm always grateful when I'm able to be there as a person, as a husband, as a loved one, as someone who genuinely cares for the well-being of the ones that are closest to us. So this interview with Rawvana will always live in our hearts as a day that was just a little more special than the rest. And I thought it was important that I share this with my listeners as a reminder of how important it is to be there. So this episode is in loving memory of our beloved little dog, Kiara.
It's time for the SHAIR Recovery Podcast, where we bring you amazing life-changing success stories from addicts and alcoholics all over the world who share their inspiring journey in recovery. And now, here's your host,
Hey, Yovana, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Omar. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on the show today. How are you feeling?
I am feeling great. I just got back from a run, so I'm feeling energized.
Excellent.
How are you?
Oh, I'm feeling wonderful. Again, I'm super excited about this interview, and I know our listeners are going to love it. So I'm ready to dive right in here. I did not go running this morning. I did take a walk. I took a 40-minute walk, that's my exercise to get out in some sun.
That's great. I love walking. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, folks, today we have Yovana Mendoza joining us on the SHAIR Podcast, but you will recognize her more easily as the YouTube and Instagram sensation Rawvana. With over 400,000 Instagram followers and over 150,000 YouTube fans, Yovana is taking the raw food lifestyle to the next level. So again, Yovana, are you ready to get started?
I am ready.
All right,
Yes.
let's do this. So you've got to be super busy. You went on a run this morning. Give us a snapshot of what your normal daily routine looks like, and then give us any big projects you're working on currently.
My daily routine, well, right now I've gotten back into the habit of waking up early. So I'm waking up around 5:30. And after that, I just get ready and go train. Usually, sometimes at 6, sometimes I go until 7. So I'll do some exercise. Before I exercise, I like to drink some coconut water or eat just a small piece of fruit. And then I come back, I have breakfast, get ready, and, I work from home. So I'm usually here, like, taping videos for my YouTube channel or taking pictures for my social media, or just working on the back end on my website or content that I'm preparing for. And that's basically goes on until the evening when I go take a walk with a friend just to see the sunset. And then I come back, have dinner, and go to sleep.
Very healthy, very busy.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you work from home. That is super exciting. That's my dream, to work from home. That's so great. And so do you have any big projects coming up, or is it just like for right now you're so busy with the videos and the Instagram?
I guess right now for the moment I'm just kind of setting my basis because I've just organizing a lot of things that needed to be organized, big projects coming up. Well, on my YouTube, I'm going to I do these challenges on my social media. So it's like sometimes I do 7-day, 14 days, 10 days. So it's a challenge that I prepare for a certain number of videos that are going to be coming out every single day. And it's a challenge where I invite people to try a vegan diet, and I give them all the information that they need. So I'll give them like their shopping list and all the like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for all the days, like food options that they could eat. And then a lot of people join from all over the world, and people are posting their pictures up on social media using hashtags. So it's a really nice community that like unites together in this cause. So it's like they don't feel alone doing that. So I'm doing that right now for this coming summer. So in the next couple months, I'll be doing one. That's one thing. And right now I'm just kind of like organizing all of my recipes because I want to do an ebook.
Right.
So yes. So for now, that's it.
Perfect. Well, that's plenty. I'm very interested in this YouTube challenge, this vegan challenge. So can anybody sign up?
Yes, anybody can sign up, and everybody can sign up on my website, Rawvana.com. So they can do it.
I think I should do it. Do they have to videotape themselves?
No, they don't have to videotape themselves. They just have to sign up, and that's it. And I mean, if they want, I encourage them to like post pictures on Instagram or on Facebook and share with others like their experience so that others can get motivated to do it too. And that way they don't feel like you don't feel alone, like you're doing it alone. Like and seeing other people doing it motivates you too to do it as well.
Okay, I think I need to check this out because I'm pretty sure our listeners are going to want to get involved. Like I'm already interested thinking about it because you said you provide the recipes, right?
Yes, and it's super easy things to make. Like it's not complicated things, but it tastes good and it satisfies you. And at the same time, you're really just nourishing your body and taking a break from eating other things that maybe don't make you feel as great.
Got you. That's exciting and easy, simple. Those are the words we live by. We like to keep it simple.
I like that. Easy, simple. Explain it to me like if you were explaining it to like a 10-year-old.
Yeah. Most of our listeners are 10-year-olds, really. No kidding. They may be 50, but they're 10-year-olds.
Exactly. Only the physical body gets old. Like inside, I'm still a kid.
We are it's called the King Babies. All right. So I want to get more into that later as we close out after we finish with your story. But as far as a regular maintenance. For example, many of our listeners have a regular routine of spirituality, not religion, where you do some sort of a meditation or a connection with a higher power. Do you have a routine or a practice of that sort?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I do that like right when I wake up. So right when I wake up, I just practice just gratitude, being grateful, saying thank you, to God or whatever my higher power. And I feel like just setting that like state of gratitude in my mind just sets me up to have a positive day and focus on the good things and everything that I have instead of like what I don't have or what I want or just negativity. And if there's anything that I'm struggling with, I like to do that before I go to sleep. So before I go to sleep, I like to set some bedtime intentions.
Nice.
For the next day, and just kind of go through my day, forgive myself for anything that I might have, judged myself for or judged someone else for. And then usually like the bedtime intentions are really good because in the morning I feel a lot better. Every time like when I go to sleep, if I'm not in a good state, like the next day it's just like a new day. So for me, just setting that the gratitude and setting my intention for the day. Like, what am I going to practice today? Like, for example, patience for me is a big one. So just practicing patience or patience with myself or compassion for myself or self-love, self-worth. And just doing that really helps me. And also I like to read some passages from the Bible every day. So because I don't consider myself like religious, or of like, oh, I'm this religion or I'm that religion. I'm not like, I don't think like, I think religion just separates people. But I personally, I relate to the Bible because that's what I grew up with. Yeah. For example, Jesus is like a super example of me. So the way that he led his life is like, wow. Like when I read those passages from the Bible, it really motivates me and it inspires me so much. So I like to do that right when I wake up.
Beautiful, beautiful. And again, that's one of the reasons why I bring this particular topic up or ask the question, because it is a delicate subject for so many, especially when you first are introduced to recovery after you've been through, so much struggle. You find your way through. And then in many situations, the solution is to connect yourself to God, to a spiritual higher power, and to establish a routine where you can connect with that higher power on a daily basis. And so I think it's very, very important in whatever facet, whether it's through Buddhism or through the Bible or through yoga. There's a lot of people that use yoga as their way of communing with a higher power, or running, being in nature. There's so many different areas that you can tap into that, but it's more about just being mindful. So I always like to touch on that because in many cases, early recovery, people are so resistant to it. But the reality is it's just a wonderful personal connection you can have on a daily basis. And I love what you do at night with setting intentions. That is something that I have read about on multiple occasions, and I don't do it. It's that, just taking the time at night to close your day, preparing for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yes, it's. Mm-hmm. So in the morning and at night, I like to do that. And for me, like my higher power it's where without it, if I lose that practice, I don't feel the same.
Yes.
So for me, it's very important to do it. Yeah, it's like eating.
I got you. Okay, so tell us about your recovery time. How much clean time do you have, and when is your anniversary date?
My anniversary date, you know what? I'm not like exactly sure like what day it is. I know it's early March.
Okay.
So it just passed, and I've been sober for 3 years.
Yay.
Clean from, just any type of drug or alcohol. And it was honestly like the best decision I could have made in my life to just leave it once and for all. And every day I'm so grateful. And that's one thing that like connecting to my higher power was one thing that really helped me to leave it for good, because it was just one day. It was honestly divine. It was like a divine intervention. But one day maybe you're going to ask this question.
Yes.
How it happened, but it was 3 years ago. So yes, I'll wait for that.
Yeah, hold on. But first, tell us how old you were the first time you drank or used drugs, and more importantly, how did they make you feel?
The first time I drank was when I was 17. It was prom day, and I went to Mexico because I live on the close to the border. So I went to Mexico. It's the first time I drank any type of alcohol, and I drank whiskey, and I was so drunk. Like a guy, like someone had to carry me out of the club and like put me in the car to sleep, because I couldn't. There came to a point where I couldn't move or like walk. And I come from alcoholic parents, but yes, so it's kind of in my blood. And that's the first time. And it made me feel like, obviously, the next day, I was 17. So I didn't have like a hangover. I felt fresh. But after that, it was really hard for me to drink whiskey ever again. Well, for a while, just for a few months.
All right.
And then I had a lot of fun in that moment. For me, it was like, wow, like it was a drug, it just makes you feel like another person. Yeah. So in the moment, I liked it.
Yeah, of course. Well, and that's really the whole, the premise of the question, and not only that, talk about going in and starting strong. I'm going to drive down to Mexico, all right, and have my first drink across the border. Right. And probably in one of Mexico's seedy little bars or something in TJ. I'm kind of picturing, how the scene was.
No. It was not. It was like I was dressed in my prom dress, and there's because people think of Mexico and they think of like the grungy bar, or they think of like, a street with lots of strippers and stuff like that. It was not like that. No, it was like there's parts in Mexico, Tijuana specifically, that are nice places, that people that are not like criminals, or there's no prostitutes. It's like literally a really nice restaurant. It was like a lounge area. So it was like all white, and it was nice. Like everyone was, and a lot of my friends like lived in Mexico. So we were all like dressed up like nicely. And it was like bottle service, and it wasn't grungy or like a bad place. It was a nice place.
Okay. All right. So it was actually a fun experience that you remember mostly.
Yeah, it was fun. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was fun. All my friends were there. Like nothing bad happened to me. It was just, and then the next day it was like, oh my gosh, they had to carry you. And we were just like cracking up,
All right. Okay, good. Well, that's a good beginning. That's a good beginning, because that's a nice kind of like, that's how it was for many of us. We went out, we got drunk, we passed out. Next day we're like, dude, I had so much fun, man. That was the best. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So now what we're going to do is, now that you're warmed up, okay, so we're going to springboard from this story, and now I'm going to turn it over to you, all right? And we're going to talk about just those things that you were holding back right now. It's time for you to share your story, the battle you had against drugs and alcohol, the wreckage it caused in your life, when you hit rock bottom, and then your journey into recovery up until today. So, Yovana, take it away.
Okay, so that was then 17. So that summer, it was like so many parties, and every time I would get really wasted and drunk. And it was, and I like to drink to that point where I was really drunk and I wouldn't remember, because it was at that point where I felt that I had the most fun. And if I didn't get to that point, it was like not as exciting for me. Then I graduated from high school. I went to college, and of course I feel like college, it's like the main thing, or what excites most people is like going to parties and getting drunk. So I went to college first. I went for a year in LA, and I was always the kind of girl that I always had boyfriends. So I had a boyfriend, and he was older, and he worked, and he was 21. I was 18. He was more responsible. And I feel that being in relationships throughout my teen years and early 20s was that it saved me from a lot of things. Because the moments or the months when I wasn't in a relationship and I was single, I would go like crazy. So I'm grateful for it, because that first year I would drink, but I would go to parties and with him, and he would take care of me. And my drinking was so bad that the next day I started having hangovers, and my hangovers were so bad that I had to go to the hospital to get IV. Because I was so dehydrated that I would spend like from the morning until the night like throwing up. You know that moment when you're just throwing up like bile, like it's just like acid from your stomach?
Yes.
Anything that I would drink, like even water or like Gatorade or whatever, it just wouldn't sit. And I felt like I was about to die. So I remember he took me to the hospital like 3 times and to get bile. And that's the only thing that really got me going. Otherwise, like I just couldn't get up from bed. Mm-hmm. So those were my, the types of hangovers that I had. And at first they were just like once every 2 months or once every 3 months, I would have a hangover like that. And the rest of the hangovers would be just like normal feeling sick and like just headache and stuff. So that was my first year of college. But I was always kind of afraid of weed, because for me it was a taboo. Growing up, weed was like, oh no, it's bad and all of this. So I was never like into smoking weed. Then we broke up, and it was kind of like a harsh, like bad breakup. So I had recently been on my first Euro trip, like with my girlfriends for the summer, after I graduated from college. So I went to that, and I loved Europe. And so after my first year of college, I decided that I wanted to go and study abroad to Paris. So I went and studied. Yes, it was amazing, honestly. And I'm so grateful to my parents that, they've always supported me and everything. So it was right when I broke up with that boyfriend that my parents were like, yeah, just go and like take a break and, enjoy. And so I went, and I was initially just going to be there for 6 months. And I transferred to a university there, like an American university. Wow. But Europe is like, I was 18, so I couldn't drink in the US. And in Europe, you can drink at age 18 is the legal age. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm staying here. Like, wine was cheaper than water. So I was like, and I was living alone with a friend. I had a roommate, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to stay here. So after 3 weeks, I left alone. Like I arrived to Paris alone. Like I was 19 with just my bags. I didn't know a word of French, but but it was a good experience. And then like after 3 weeks, my parents came and visited me, and I told my dad, I really think that I want to stay here, like finish my university years here. I want to graduate here, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity and blah, blah, blah. And he accepted. He was like, okay, yes, go ahead. You can do it. I ended up staying and living in Paris for almost 4 years. And that's like the craziest times that I've had. Well, some of the craziest times. So like by the grace of God, I feel that nothing happened to me or like really bad happened to me.
Well, wait. Before we move away from Paris, give us a couple of those moments. We want to hear about some like crazy times in Paris.
Well, just like leaving the club, like drunk, where the next day I don't remember anything, like past, like just blacked out at 7 a.m, because the metro didn't open until 6 a.m. Taxis were expensive. And at the beginning I was like, didn't have a lot of money. So I would wait until the metro would open. And there were times when I would get to the metro and I would fall asleep on the metro with holding my purse with my money, like dressed in like heels. And there were some times where I would go into the metro like at 6 a.m. and I'd wake up at 10 a.m. The metro would go like side to side, like just go all the way to the end, all the way to the other end. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like what happened? I just like passed out there in the metro. And then some really like this, I'm so grateful that nothing happened to me. But eventually I got kind of harassed in the metro a couple times, where I was wearing a skirt, and this one guy one time he like put his hand up my skirt, and then I know it was so bad. And then I got so scared. It was late at night. I was leaving school like at 9 p.m. and that happened to me. And then I got slapped like in my butt like a few times. So I got really scared of the metro. I told my dad, and my dad got super scared as well. So I got a car. Because I was scared. I was scared of the metro. My dad's like, no, I don't want you to go in the metro. I'm going to get you a car so you can just drive there. So it's like here in the US, I was always very cautious of like drunk driving, because I was always really scared of like DUIs and like all the process that goes on. But in Paris, I didn't care. Like because I wasn't going to pay for taxis since I had a car. So I would every weekend that I went and like partied, I would drive drunk. Or not every weekend, but very often. So I would like literally take my car with wine bottle on the right hand and just drink and drive, and with my friends there, driving them, and waking up the next day and like being like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? Is my car upstairs? And then going down and being like, oh my gosh, the car's there. Or like having scratches on the car, or like my purse. Oh my gosh, where's my purse? And like the purse was just like in the car, like with everything like just falling out of the car, and like out of the purse. And one time I had this watch, and I like gave it away to a homeless person, and I didn't remember the next day, and it was a gift to my parents. So like just like a lot of those things that next day or like the days after, they'd be like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And like especially like the drunk driving, there like I remember this really bad time that I was on a street and I did a left turn, and this like truck, and it was like on a red, I think it was almost like it was a yellow light, but it turned red, and I did it on red. This truck was like by a sliver, he didn't hit me. And my friends were in the car with me, and my friends were like, Yovana, like you didn't see the truck. And I was like, oh shit, like, oh my God, just so many like really just close moments that could have to a total tragedy. The police never stopped me, but yeah, for me, drunk driving was like one of the things that I don't regret, like, but just I think about those things, and it wasn't me, you know, it was I was under the influence. So, just some of those things. And then that's when I started smoking weed, when I was in Paris. But I mean, like, I don't want to make Paris sound like it was horrible, like I was this horrible person, because I had like amazing times. I fell in love for the first time in Paris. Aww. And I lived with my boyfriend, and it was beautiful. And it wasn't all bad. Like only in that aspect that I just didn't use alcohol in the correct way. And it was part of the process that I had to go through in order to get to where I am. But I'm just, there were so many, like I have so many good memories. Like when I think of Paris, I usually think of all the good memories that I had. Yeah. Yes. And then that's when I started smoking weed. So, like Amsterdam was closed. So we would just like go to Amsterdam and like just smoke a lot. And like right now I'm living this life where I feel like I have a purpose, or I feel like I've found my purpose in life. or at least for this moment, and something that I'm like very passionate about. In that moment, I didn't like, that was what I lived for, like just having fun. And that was my version of having fun. I didn't know another version of having fun. Like, for example, weed, I just feel like the effects that I would feel was that it really made me like very lazy. Like I didn't want to do anything. So like I sometimes think of Paris, I'm like, oh, I could have taken advantage so much more of the opportunity that I was there to do so many things, but I didn't, because I was under the influence the whole time. Now that I'm not under the influence, I've seen like how far I've come and everything that I've done, and it opens my eyes. So when I see young people like stop, like not drinking, or like saying like 16, 17 years old, I'm like, wow, like you're gonna do so many things, you know? So yes, that was Paris. And then I came back from Paris, and I lived with my parents for a while. I started working in the family business, and there I was like I was single. So it was like crazy times again. So Paris, it was crazy, but it wasn't that crazy because I had a boyfriend the whole time. So it was kind of like we would have fun together. There were just some moments where it was crazy. But here I lived with my parents, but I didn't last long because my parents were like, you're getting here at 5, 6 a.m. Like, what is this? It's not like... They were like waking up, and I'm like making some quesadillas and like all drunk, and so my father, he has offices in Mexico City. So I was like, Dad, I feel like I want to go to Mexico City and like live there, because I didn't want to really be at home. I left to Mexico City, and I lived there for like a year and a half working, and I was actually like pretty responsible with work. Like I would go to my 9 to 7 shift, and I would do like what I needed to do. But weekends was like, oh, I can breathe. Well, not weekends. Like I drink every day. Like every day it was just get home, like open a bottle of wine, smoke some cigarettes, just by myself, like 2-3 glasses of wine, get a little buzz, and then go to sleep. So that was like it started being my normal routine. It was just like after work, it was either a beer or wine, or I'd go to happy hour or whatever. It was like this drug that I started to need. This was when I feel that it really progressed, when I lived in Mexico City, because besides Mexico City, like everyone drinks, and everywhere it's like smoking cigarettes is so common there as well. So
right.
Yeah. So that's when I feel like I started drinking more. And I was living there alone. Like my friends weren't there. I didn't know anyone. So all the friends that I was making were people from the clubs, like people that I met, when you're already really drunk. So those were the kinds of people that I was like hanging out with. And that's when I started having the most blackouts. And that's when like every time that I drank was a blackout. Every time that I drank was a blackout. And just like waking up the next morning with like a bunch of people my friends sleeping at my apartment. I'm like, do I really know these people? Like, I was just like strangers in my home. And it was just like anything could happen in that moment. Like, what if some person is not a good person and tries to do something, or like steals from me, and just leaving the club, like, there was a person that kind of like took care of me over there. If it wasn't for him, I don't know how, like, if things would have happened for me, because I would leave the clubs alone, because I would get to the club alone and leave the club alone and leave like at 5 a.m. And I mean, he would like kind of take care of me and then take me home. But I never remembered like how I got home. So it was just like a lot, like the next day, just feeling like, oh, what did I do? What did I say? Or why did I say that? Or sometimes like work parties and like getting drunk or tipsy there. And like, I'm like the daughter of the owner. So the people that work there, seeing me there like that was just kind of like embarrassing for me. It was, yeah, just things that I wouldn't do on my, if I was sober.
Right.
Or say.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and over time, alcohol is a depressant. And then when I stopped drinking, or when it was the time that I wanted to stop drinking was I had surgery. So the doctor was like, hey, you can't drink for like 3 to 4 weeks before the surgery or smoke cigarettes. And after, like before and after the surgery. And I was like, oh, perfect. Like she was so happy now. And so that's when I stopped drinking. And it was like the first 2 weeks that I started to just open my eyes and see how alcohol, like the way alcohol was affecting my life and what road it was leading me to. It was, and what image I was setting up for myself and for the world. Because like growing up, we all have so much potential. All of us, we have so much potential. So I would hear, Yovana, like you have so much potential, Yovana, you could do so much. But I never really believed that. Like I always, like when I was after being under the influence, as time progressed, I would just think like I was just an average person. Like, oh, like I just want to like get married and like be a house, like not that being a housewife was bad or anything, but I didn't have something that really drove me to like make a difference in this world. I would see people that were so passionate about the work. For me, it was just like, get up, go to work, eventually settle down and have kids and everything. And then drink on weekends. Like that's it. That just work for money and then live like that. Mm-hmm. There was no purpose there. I started feeling like the symptoms that you feel after you stop drinking, which was just like all the feelings that you feel, but intensified. Because usually like these feelings of anxiety and lack of love or lack of self-worth, or just these negative feelings, it was just like, oh, drink a glass of wine or drink some beers or take a drink and just numb that. So I was numbed out the whole time, not feeling anything. And once I stopped drinking, like after the 2 weeks, I was starting to feel things. I wasn't numbing myself out. And my parents were recovered alcoholics, so they were both not drinking at the time. Like my mom is 24 years sober, and my dad, he's had his ups and downs. But so I came to my parents, and so alcoholism was always like a very open subject in my house. So I came to my parents and I told them like, hey, like I feel alcohol may be affecting my life, and it was that moment where I accepted it to them, which was very scary for me because I feel like acceptance is the first step. Because in my mind, I had already accepted it for me. This was after the surgery. So yeah, so I didn't drink for like before the surgery, and then after the surgery is when I guess it was like more like 6 weeks or something. Sorry. That I started to feel those symptoms. So what happened was that I went to a bar with a couple friends and I ordered a beer because now it was kind of okay to drink. So I ordered a beer and I had the first sip and it was like, it just didn't, like something didn't click. Like it just didn't feel right. And like, it was just something in my heart that I felt like, no, since I had been clean for those weeks, I was more sensitive to my intuition, and I answered to that calling, to that intuition. So that same night, I came to my parents and I told them like, "Hey, I think alcohol might be affecting me in a negative way. I feel this in my heart. I feel like I don't have a purpose. Like, what am I? Those questions that we sometimes ask. What am I doing here in this world? Like I felt kind of just very low and like a low point in my life, like nothing satisfied, like not even like material things or my friends or anything like. And so my parents were like, hey, my dad, he said, hey, go to this place. It's a detox place. You're going to be eating raw, like fruits and vegetables. You're going to do a juice cleanse. And he had been there because one time he had a really bad hangover. And so he was like, and so he went there for a week because sometimes, like my dad, for like I think 10 or 15 years, he stopped drinking for like 15 years, and then the other 10 years he was on and off. He would not drink for like 3 months and then go on it for another 3 months. So it was like that, always on and off. So this was one of the times where he stopped drinking and he went there. And it's called Optimum Health Institute here in San Diego. And he said, yes, just go there. You're going to feel good. So I went there, and the second or the third day when we were doing a juice cleanse, so I arrived and I was the youngest person there because the people that go there, the people that go there are like are usually have cancer, diabetes, or they're very sick. They're older people who medicine has not worked for them. So they go there to find an alternative way to heal their bodies. Raw fruits and vegetables are known to, you know, how Hippocrates says, like, let medicine be thy food and food be thy medicine.
Yes.
When you eat raw foods, you just let your body heal itself. So I come here and I start feeling like this clear-mindedness that I had never felt before. And this sense of peace inside of me that I hadn't felt either. And this sense of like contentment and I guess happiness where it was not anywhere from outside. It was just something that was in me. And there I was learning about the connection about mind, body, and spirit, and how like the food that we eat is connected with our emotions and our thoughts. These are some things that I had never heard in my life before. Or like, hey, you don't need meat or chicken or fish to get your protein. I was like, what? Wait, what? Like, I can survive on this? Like, like, I'm going to be healthy. I'm not going to die? So because it was just, it was always that thing the thing that we've been sold our whole life that we need. You need your protein, you need your carbs, you need your veggies, you need a little bit of everything. But then I started learning about all the downside to eating animal protein, especially now how it's manufactured, how all the hormones that they put in the animals, and everything that hormone is ingesting goes into our bodies. And really, I truly believe you are what you eat. So it becomes us. And here I was eating just raw fruits and vegetables, completely healing my body, doing colonics. Colonics is when it's you go into, it's like an enema. So you go into this room and they put like water up your like anus into your colon. So they clean your colon.
Dude.
So I was, yes, I know.
This is awesome.
Yeah, they do that. And the first time it was so weird, but then afterwards I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so clean. Like, you feel good. And you're taking probiotics. I was like, what is probiotics? Like these enzymes to heal your intestinal flora, because usually it's so damaged by the food that we eat that our bodies can't even absorb the nutrients correctly. And learning all of this fascinating things. I was like, why didn't anyone tell me this like my whole life? And I come out, I'm feeling so motivated to just keep on going. And it was in that place. I ended up staying there for 2 weeks. And it was in that place that one day I was about to go to sleep. And I just felt in my heart to kneel down. And I don't even know what I was like kneeling down. And I hadn't even like talked to God in years. So I kneeled down and I talked to God and I said, thank you for bringing me here. And I know that I said, I know that I want to stop drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to need your help because I can't do it alone. It was like that moment that I made the decision that I just wanted to stop. I didn't know if it was going to be forever, but I knew that I didn't want it in my life. That was like the second week that I was there. So after like I left and I'm at home and I got a blender and a juicer and I'm feeling so motivated to just keep on doing this. I go back to Mexico City and I take all of my things. And then I'm like online looking, and then I just started reading all of these books and documentation. And the more that I read about the plant-based diet and the benefits there are, and all the supporting evidence that supports this lifestyle, not just for the body, but for the animals, for the environment, for everything. And I was like, this is it. Like I want to do this. So I kept on eating this way. And then I go online and I'm like, who else is doing this? Like, am I the only crazy person eating like fruits and vegetables, raw fruits and vegetables all day? So I go online and I find like this whole community of people doing this. And that just motivated me so much to do it. And then I go and search it in Spanish, and I didn't find a lot of information in Spanish.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Right. I'm gonna start a blog. And I'm gonna talk about these things in Spanish because there's no information out there, and I need to share this with the world. Like, people need to know like what I'm experiencing and the benefits that I've had and how it's healing my body and my mind and my spirit. And I started like sharing my pictures on Instagram, like food that I was like, just what I was eating. I started sharing it with my friends, and then and then a couple of weeks later, after I started sharing on Instagram, I went to a wedding, and all of my friends were there. A lot of my friends were there, and they saw that I wasn't drinking and that I had lost weight and that I looked radiant. And people were like, "What are you doing? What did you do? Like, you look so good. You look so different." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just eating fruits and vegetables." And then when like they saw that I wasn't drinking, and they're like, "Oh, you're not gonna drink?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna drink." And like, wait, like you don't drink anymore? And I'm like, well, I don't know if I don't drink anymore. Like, I'm not drinking right now. So I really took it like one day at a time. I never said like, oh, I'm going to be vegan or I'm going to be raw vegan for the rest of my life. And, I don't know if my intention is not to drink, but for today, I have decided not to drink or to engage in other drugs. So that's when I started after that wedding, it really motivated me even more to do this blog. So that's when my blog started. And then after a few months, like a couple months, I approached my father and I told him like, hey, like this is something that I'm very passionate about. Like I feel like it's my purpose here to just share this with the world and tell other people about all the benefits there are in eating a raw vegan diet. And I want to just learn more about this. So he said, okay. That's when I came back to San Diego. I lived with my parents for a while, and I just started doing like all these certifications. I did like a health coach certification and just like raw food. Like I went with Dr. Graham, he wrote several books. He's written several books on raw food. So I did a water fast. I did a 25-day water fast. I just super immersed myself with the lifestyle. And I guess I just that's what I had to do. I had to substitute it with the life that I had before, because you can't just take away alcohol and like food, like junk food and be like, what am I going to do? Like, so I substituted it. And for me, exercise is huge because that's where I get a lot of my like stress out, or I need it. I need it every single day. So for me, it's like second nature now. Like every day I'm active. Every day I do something to move my body. So this lifestyle has just helped me so much in so many ways. And yes, and then over time I decided to make a YouTube channel. Like 3 months later, after eating this way, I made a YouTube channel in English and Spanish. And that's when I decided that I wanted this to be what like I guess you would call it my job, but I don't feel like it's a job because I have so much fun doing it. I love it. The satisfaction that I started getting from people writing me messages like, hey, like after seeing your smoothie video, like I started making smoothies, and then I started like investigating so much about this lifestyle, and I'm now eating more fruits and vegetables, and I feel amazing, and I've lost so much weight, and I have so much energy, and thank you so much. And that just inspires me every single day just to keep on going, because if I can make a difference in someone's life, like they inspire me. Like it's because of them that I can live this way as well. Like I can keep going in my lifestyle. So I feel like it's like in the end, we're a community. We are all one. So without them, I wouldn't be here talking to you. And without my higher power, just I don't know, all the good benefits that came from just leaving the addictions of especially like for me, alcohol. Like food, yes, it's important, but alcohol is number one. Like now I don't, I stopped drinking. I stopped eating animals because of health. Now I really I have so much compassion for them because of the way that they suffer and how they are, treated.
Yes.
And I wouldn't do it. But if I was like in a life or death situation, I think I would rather eat like something, just something that is not vegan rather than alcohol. Like alcohol, I can't go that route. Like it's not an option for me.
I got you. I totally get it. Yovana, what a beautiful story you have. It's so inspirational. And I can tell that the life that you led before it's almost difficult for you to connect with that person, because as soon as you started talking about how you live your life today and the passion that you have for eating raw and for being vegan, your energy changed. And so that's what I want our listeners to catch. I want them to catch the change in energy, because in many cases you need to substitute the alcohol and the drug use and that lifestyle, because it's a lifestyle. You need to replace it with something else. And for so many people, if it wasn't for your dad, you may not have ever discovered this place. What was it called again?
Optimum Health Institute in San Diego.
Okay, so then there's this. Yeah, I'm going to put this in the show notes, guys. So for you, I'm going to Google this and get all the information from it, so that you guys can check it out. I want to check it out myself. I love what they're doing there. I love it.
Yes, it's such a beautiful place. I like to go once a year because it's nice.
Well, just real quick, the way that I discovered what you're talking about here, and eating raw and being vegan and why, is I interviewed one of my interviewees is Brian Nino. He wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Peaceful Sobriety. And a lot of it, what happened was once he got sober, he had this horrible diet and it was killing him. And so he started juicing. And then he read a book called Finding Ultra by Rich Roll. And he's an ultra marathon runner vegan. And so after our interview, he introduced me to that book and to Rich Roll, and I started listening. And he also had mentioned in one of his interviews, he had actually had the interview with the producers of Cowspiracy. I don't know if you've heard of that movie.
Yes, I love it.
I love that movie. That movie was the game changer for me. I saw that movie, and I'm sitting there watching this movie with my wife, who is practically vegetarian, is a yoga instructor, is super fit, just super healthy. And I look at her and I said, "Honey, I'm done." She goes, "What do you mean you're done?" "I'm done eating meat. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't even justify it in my own mind anymore. I realize now why I get my inflammation, my fingers get all puffy, I get uncomfortable, my digestion's a mess. It's from eating all this meat and dairy, and I'm done. So let's start. I want to do a juice cleanse." So my wife, she put together a 10-day juice cleanse for me, and they're delicious. I really enjoyed eating. Usually in the mornings we have what I call we call it the miracle morning, because we got it from Hal Elrod. And it's just almond milk, banana, spinach, maca, cacao, vegan protein. And so that's what we have for breakfast, and it's changed my life. This started in December, where I had my last piece of pork at Christmas dinner, and I got so sick the next day. I said, "Okay, we're starting now." And it's so it's super exciting. Like when I hear your story and your evolution, I think there's so many of us have these epiphanies like almost overnight. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, definitely.
It just happens. It happens overnight.
I feel like, especially for us addicts, like the addictive person. I don't know. For me, I'm very extreme. It's like I'm very like all or nothing.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe it's something.
It is. It's all or nothing. I'm either all in or I'm all out, right? And so the sugar was a tough thing. That was my nemesis, and sugar's so bad for you, processed sugars. So getting rid of the ice creams and getting rid of the chocolates, getting rid of the all these processed sugars and processed foods. Like I don't buy stuff in boxes and cans anymore. We shop at the organic markets, and so much has changed. Real quick though, one thing I wanted to ask you as you were telling your story, you say your mom has got 24 years sober?
Yes.
So wasn't there a moment where she was like, "Mija, I think you have a drinking problem"?
Oh yes, so many times. So many times, of course. She'd say, "You're an alcoholic." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I can totally handle this."
Okay.
And
so it wasn't as though one day you had a white light moment and you went to your parents and then they said, "Okay, I think we can help you." Your mother had already seen all the signs.
Oh, my mom knew that I was an alcoholic. Yes, she of course knew that I was, and my dad, he kind of also knew. But at the time, my dad was kind of active with alcohol, so he kind of like he was like, I don't know, if I went and partied in TJ, like I would stay at a hotel, and he was kind of like, here's or like, I don't know, just a little bit less how would you say it? He didn't like give me shit about it.
Well, I think we know why. I think your dad's been on the fence for years.
Of course.
And how can he criticize you and say, "Mija, I think you're an alcoholic," and you're like, "Okay, Dad, thanks. I think I got this," right? Whereas your mother, like, you can't punch a hole in that.
Exactly. Yes. No, but she wouldn't say it that much. But she knew that I was. She just stayed quiet. But she prayed so much.
Oh.
Like, she told me that she would pray for me every single day. So maybe that helped in like me not getting into a lot of trouble when I lived alone.
Well, I tell you what, man, I think we all had people praying for us.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, for sure I did.
Yes.
So real quick, let's start to wrap up here, Yovana, because this has been like an awesome interview. And the most important thing here that I want our listeners to grasp from all this is how you changed your life to such a monumental degree. And it was literally just by changing your diet that these epiphanies started to happen in your life. Now, I obviously I know that you would recommend raw food. Would you recommend these enemas and colonoscopias too?
At the beginning, yes. If you're doing a cleanse, but do it in the right, like with someone who's kind of guiding you to it.
No, I would go to a doctor. Yeah, I wouldn't do it at home.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. Especially like the first 3 months of doing it, I really recommend it.
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
it just helps clean out your body and your gut so much.
Yeah, I can just see me going, "Hey, honey, I'm gonna need a little help here. Can you hook me up?" Oh my God. Okay. So if you, as a beginner, all right. So now we're talking to someone who is just come in off the streets or just surrendered and said, "Man, I'm done with this." And they've put together, say for example, a few weeks. They've got some clarity going on, and they're just eating junk food every day. And even if it's not junk food, they're just eating, overeating and stuff like that. What suggestion you would give for the beginners?
For the beginners, I recommend just replacing one meal a day for a vegan preferably raw vegan meal a day. Mm-hmm. Just one. It can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And replace it with a smoothie. I feel like at the beginning it's easier to just do smoothies but a good big smoothie. Like not a like one banana, spinach, and a cup of almond milk. No, I mean like a smoothie that's gonna satiate you, satisfy you for a meal, like to replace a meal, like an entire meal. And this can be, anywhere from like 3 bananas, half an avocado, some hemp seeds, some kale, dates, and water or almond milk, whatever you want, or coconut water, and blend it up and replace it. I mean, usually for people, it's breakfast. And then whenever you're hungry, like take snacks with you, because a lot of times we don't take food with us and we get hungry and we end up eating other things. So taking like bananas or apples or oranges or a bag of almonds, salted almonds if you want to, or anything that is natural, that is from the earth. Or even, instead of having, like, if you're going to have a big piece of animal protein, like make it smaller and maybe, bake some sweet potatoes and just add more veggies. And every time that you eat any type of food, like try to eat a salad before,
Right.
Just making small changes like that.
Beautiful. I love that's easy.
Yes, it's easy. It's very easy. And it tastes good and it makes you feel good. It just takes a little bit of planning, like in your head, like maybe writing down on a list what you need to go buy to the grocery so that you can have it at home. And that way, when you have your fruits and vegetables at home, you'll be more prone to eating them.
Beautiful.
When you're prepared. Yes.
Good. And so what books would you recommend to our newcomers starting on this road to being vegan or being raw or just mindful eating?
I really recommend the author Victoria Butenko. She has a book on green smoothies. That is, it's a small one. It's a small read. It's an easy read. And Green for Life is the name. Green for Life. And then I also recommend the book 80-10-10 Diet by Dr. Douglas Graham. And there you'll see how fruit is not the enemy, because a lot of people see fruit as the enemy, and fruit is actually our best friend. So that's a very inspiring book. That's a book that really helped me a lot. And I guess they can start with those two. But there's another one that is called The Book of Juicing. That one's really good. It's just basic juicing and how it can really help you in your everyday life. So those 3 books.
Is there an author for that one?
Yes. Just one moment. The author for that one is Michael T. Murray.
Perfect. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
So it's basically like it has the complete book of juicing, and it has information, it has recipes, and it has the benefits. So that's what I really like about it, because it gives you the recipe and it gives you all the benefits. So if you're someone, for example, that has high blood pressure, so you go to the section that has high blood pressure and you'll see all the juices that are good, that are like special for high blood pressure.
Beautiful. I love it. Great suggestions. Okay. Yes. Yovana, what is the best way for our listeners to find you and all your videos and Instagram pictures and websites? So give us, how to reach you.
How to reach me? Well, you can find me everywhere as Rawvana. It's Rawvana. Just Google me on YouTube. I am Rawvana in English. Instagram, I'm Rawvana. Facebook, Rawvana in English. And my website, rawvana.com. You will find, and I have an app too. I have 2 apps actually. I have one that is just raw vegan recipe app. And then I have another one that is a smoothie challenge app. So it's a 30-day smoothie challenge app. And the challenge is to replace 1 meal a day for a smoothie. And you can find that's available for iTunes and Google Play Store. And you can download that. So that's how you can find it. Yes.
Excellent. Guys, go to the SHAIR Podcast website, show notes for Rawvana, and there I will have all that listed. I'll have her webpage, YouTube's, Twitter, everything. Everything will be listed on there so you guys can find her. And as we close up, Yovana, what is the best suggestion that you would give to our listeners?
The best suggestion would just be to have patience. Just, have patience with yourself and take it one day at a time. I really love just taking everything one day at a time. And, I always say, like, sleep, hydrate, move, and fruits and veggies. Those 6 things. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed this. I truly enjoyed this. And I'm just happy to share my story. And I hope that it can inspire someone. So thank you.
Well, I got lots of great suggestions myself. I know our listeners will too, and they're going to love it. So, folks, we have now reached the end of our show. Thanks for joining us. And as we say here in Costa Rica, pura vida.
Pura vida.
Nice. It's always nice when somebody's got Latin flavor.
Yes. I love it.
Thank you for joining us on the SHAIR Recovery Podcast. To check out the show notes page on this interview or to thank our guests for sharing their story, go to www.theshairpodcast.com. While you're on the website, don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter to stay up to date on the latest news, podcasts, and interviews. Want to be one of our guests and share your story? Then go to our website and click on the Share Your Story button. We share our inspiring recovery stories every Tuesday, so subscribe to our show on iTunes or Stitcher Radio to get your free weekly download. We'll see you then. The opinions shared on this show reflect those of the individual speaker and not of any 12-Step Fellowship as a whole. And though we discuss 12-Step recovery and the